Hi, I'm Charles with Anycap. This is part 1 of my recap for the 2022 anime Engage Kiss. The story begins as we see a girl named Kisara excitedly rush to an apartment where she would begin cooking, only to find that the electricity is out. At a cafe, we are introduced to a girl named Ayano. She watches in awe as our protagonist named Shu scarfs down all the food in front of him. Ayano is concerned about the speed at which he eats, but Shu explains that he hasn't eaten in days. He also reveals that he hasn't been able to find work in a while, and she expresses disappointment for him leaving the company she works for. However, he makes it clear that it's his life and will make all the decisions about his future. Furthermore, he promised himself to give everything he has to be independent and not rely on anyone, even if it means dying alone. However, she is very upset in pointing out that he isn't doing any of that, since he definitely has someone taking care of him, as we get a glimpse of Kisara hard at work cooking. As they leave, Ayano asks Shu to stop pretending like he's looking for money since she knows he's broke, and pays for their meal. She would like to see him again soon, and Shu agrees. The only problem is he hasn't paid his phone bill, and she begrudgingly agrees to pay it. Shu returns home to find Kisara, and she explains that she worked extra hard on dinner since the electricity was out. He reveals that he has already eaten though. Kisara explains that she hasn't been coming by more often because of exams, but isn't using it as an excuse. Kisara begins to talk about how useless she is, and Shu finally agrees to eat every single bite of her food. He almost complains about how cold it is, but manages to stop himself. Shu explains that he didn't want to bother her about cooking for him, and that makes her think that he is too nice of a person, which he doesn't seem to agree with at all. Once she gets close, she notices the scent of another woman, but Shu explains that he must have just bumped into someone earlier. She would then explain that she paid his electricity bill, and not to worry since she doesn't spend her money anyway. However, an expensive delivery arrives and he has no way to pay for it. Afterwards, Kisara laments how they are both penniless. She decides that they must both leave the world and bids farewell to her one and only follower on social media. Shu explains that they won't have to do that, as he recently used his life savings to get info on a job. He arrives in a virtual world where a group is briefed on a job that is up for auction. They are shown an incident that happened at a casino. For some unknown reason, a man transforms into a monster that the agents refer to as a demon hazard. It is explained that the job will be to disable the suspect dead or alive. The D hazard is determined to be a C-class monster, and a woman believes they will make good money from it. Everyone has been evacuated, so the group think they can go all out. However, the chief explains that the second request for the job is they limit the amount of secondary damage. This is because the venue is the center of a very busy city, and the damage to the building will have detrimental effects to the surroundings. The silent auction goes on for 10 minutes. At the end, Shu is revealed to be the winner as he severely underbid everyone else. The others are disgusted to see that Shu would do the job for such little money, since facing a C-class is very dangerous. Shu explains that it will be like a walk in the park for him though. One man remarks that he isn't surprised considering the lowlife Shu's father was. Afterwards, Shu speaks to his old boss and she agrees to provide backup, but only if he agrees to pay her over 80% of the reward. Shu thinks it's unfair, but she explains that it's actually a pretty good deal, considering how much money her daughter has used on him. She hangs up and we see that her daughter is Ayano. Ayano doesn't want to be brought up in their negotiations, but agrees to do the job. Shu then leaves her the mission and promises Kisara that he will pay her back by the next day. He arrives late after explaining he couldn't afford a cab, and Ayano confirms that they are only there as backup. However, if he isn't able to defeat the monster, they will, and the reward will be theirs. Ayano's group draws the attention of the endless wave of minions, but bullets are easily deflected off the demon. Shu manages to make his way to its back, but is surprised to find that it doesn't have any weak spots. He is in a really bad spot as the demon is completely focused on him, but is rescued just in time by Kisara. He is relieved to see she isn't upset anymore, and she explains that he is useless without her. The demon regenerates and it becomes clear that it is actually a B class. The group want more backup, but Ayano begrudgingly explains that with Kisara there, that won't be necessary. Kisara's attack fails though. She reminds Shu that they haven't worked in a while and it's been 3 months since they've done their ritual. The demon needs to be defeated at any cost, so Shu asks that he lend him her power, and she aggressively takes charge in starting the ritual. The leveled up Kisara is much more powerful than before and easily slices through the minions. She tries to hit Ayano with their body parts though and explains that she is just a useless old woman. Shu awakes to find a tooth in his mouth with instructions to use it in battle. Back to the fight, Kisara recognizes the scent that Shu had on him earlier and the two girls continue their bickering. Shu tries to stop their dangerous infighting only to have Kisara turn on him. She wants him to prove his dedication to her and asks for a spare key to his apartment. Shu reminds her that she is able to walk through walls, but she exclaims that it's about more than that, and he must agree. With their new arrangement, they are able to refocus, and Shu prepares a bullet with the tooth in it. Kisara decimates several minions and clears a path for Shu. He gets close and unleashes the devastating blow that would finally kill the demon. Afterwards, Shu asks that she extract information from the demon, but they don't have time as the building begins to collapse. They're in grave danger, but Shu can only think about how much they will deduct from the reward. Kisara stops the debris from falling, and Ayano explains that B-class enemies don't have a chance. Not as long as they have a super A-class demon hazard on their side. Later, Kisara uses her new key to get into Shu's place, and takes some memorable pictures. The next morning, Shu looks over the memory she extracted from the possessed demon, but there isn't much. Shu is surprised to hear that she is analyzing the state of his business, and she explains that she must take care of his health and finances since they're living together now. He reminds her that he only gave her a key, but she ignores that to point out that they are going to be tight on money. Shu explains that it's the end of the month though, and they will be getting paid, but Kisara explains that the payout is actually next month. She tells him not to worry, and we see that she is thinking about finding a part-time job. Her friends become worried when they see bandages, and wonder if her boyfriend became upset after she refused to do lewd work to repay his debt. Just then, a guy named Mikhail shows up. He is the student council president and wishes Kisara would have come to him for help. He ignores the other girl's request for important school matters and invites Kisara to a party later that night, but they are all gone. Elsewhere, Shu asks Ayano if he could be a subcontractor for her company, and offers to do any kind of work they need, including security or even traffic guidance. She is irritated by his insincere voice though, and points out how the pink-haired girl would be upset if she knew he was there. Shu explains that he is more broke than ever and doesn't have a choice, so Ayano decides to consult the company president, aka her mother. However, she sees a post Kisara made about them living together and storms off. Elsewhere, a man explains that the Anti-Demon Bureau chief would like for the mayor's party to be postponed or cancelled. This is because they found evidence that a student they suspected of demon possession is planning to assassinate the mayor. The mayor's advisors refuse, but ask that they provide security instead, and request that any fighting be kept indoors, since the cover-up for the casino incident proved to be difficult. The man explains to Ayano's mother named Akino that there will be no auction for this job, since a demon hazard has not been confirmed, and it will be given to her company, the AAA. She knows of someone that she can hire to do it for cheap, and we see that the person is Shu. He is working with a man named Miles, Ayano, and Kisara. Kisara tries to take a bit of the delicious food, but is interrupted by Mikhail, who is extremely glad she came. Nearby, Miles explains that their suspect is someone his boss has been trying to capture for some time. He was just a normal student until the day he came up with an elaborate plan for terrorism. It is suspected that he made a deal with a demon agent and gained the power and knowledge of a demon. They understand that the kid is just a pawn, but if they can trace any clues back to the agent, they may be able to act before the demon hazard even happens. Miles asks that Shu come to dinner one night since his daughter Melissa has been asking about him, but he avoids the question by asking for a cigarette. The mayor makes a speech about how prosperous Beiran City is, but Kisara can only think about how there are still those that struggle every day living there. We then hear the thoughts of the suspect, who explains that the people who have had their dreams crushed by the city have fallen into an underground society, turning to crime and planning to devastate the city. The mayor then praises Orgonium, the ultimate clean energy source that will allow Beiran to continue being an eternal paradise. Shu is disgusted to hear that though, knowing that the city is filled with demons, and it's the place where his entire family was massacred. The demon explains that the mayor hides the existence of demons, but will no longer be able to once he reveals himself and kills the mayor. However, Kisara acts quickly and stops him before the crowd sees. The venue is sealed and the chase begins. Ayano gets caught off guard for a moment, but Kisara once again arrives to help stop the demon. Shu arrives to join the fight and they manage to corner it. However, he receives a call from Akino instructing them to capture him alive, since he managed to keep his human mind even after becoming a demon. The demon can't understand why they just ignore the mayor's lies, but they are too busy thinking about how they're going to capture him, since they don't own any capturing gear. It's expensive and will require them to use the entire payment for the job. The demon explains that the mayor is hoarding clean energy out of greed, but the two are still arguing about how Shu's spending affects their lives. However, the demon points out how things that happened to Shu's family were covered up as well, and makes his escape. Kisara begs that he not make the purchase, since it means they will have to continue their poor quality of life. Shu explains that he actually doesn't mind eating her bean sprouts every day and buys this stuff anyway. The delivery is instant and Shu lucks out when he notices that the demon was incapacitated already. Afterwards, Kisara wonders if anything the demon said bothered him, but Shu explains that it doesn't matter since jobs from the government are the only way he can earn money. With no money, Shu gets excited about finding 50 cents, but Kisara explains that it's hardly enough for 2 bags of bean sprouts. Later, we watch as Shu has a nightmare. In it, his parents are dead and his young sister begs for Shu to save her. He wakes up and promises to never forget them, but when he looks at their picture, he is surprised to see that Kisara made some alterations. We then get a glimpse as a man attempts to escape a place with a briefcase. On his phone, an agent explains that they can offer him anywhere from a D-class to a B-class transformation, but the man desperately just asks for their most powerful one. Back at Shu's apartment, he enjoys some bean sprouts while Kisara explains that the entire town is out of power. They must leave though, as they have received some information. At the mayor's office, it is explained that the new demon hazard was actually a spy from another country in search of information regarding orgonium. The mayor is completely clueless, and it becomes clear that he is merely a pawn as his daughters are actually running things. They must explain that orgonium is a next-generation energy source. Their city holds state-of-the-art mining technology and other countries desperately want to get their hands on it. The girls prepare for a massive cover-up and simply leave their father with signing paperwork. Elsewhere, Shu meets with Ayano, who is embarrassed when it's clear that she changed out of her work clothes to meet with Shu. He shows her the information he received about a B-class demon and the emblem it left behind that is similar to the one from the casino. She is surprised that he was able to get such valuable information before the auction even started. He acknowledges that the person sending the info must be exploiting how desperate he is for money to use Kisara's powers. He explains that he knows what he is doing and she should trust his decision making. However, she is quick to point out all his horrible decisions recently. At the auction, Shu wins once again with a bid of $200,000. It's a B-class demon though, and everyone knows that the job is worth at least $500,000. That doesn't matter though, since the chief cancels the auction. He just received information that the demon has absorbed one of the orgonium cores that had enough energy to supply the city with a week's worth of electricity. The core must be retrieved, so they are not allowed to kill the demon. Shu objects to them nullifying his winning bid and restarting the auction, but everyone is aware that he doesn't have the means to capture such a large demon. Elsewhere, it is explained that Shu is the most powerful demon exterminator and the only demon user in the city. The police are limited by a heavy weapons law forced onto the city by other countries out of fear they were becoming too powerful. This means Shu and Kisara are the most powerful force in the city, but the government and others in the business treat them as an annoyance. AAA managed to immobilize the demon and prepare to extract the core. Miles explains that Shu brought the demon girl to the city 2 years ago and immediately applied to register as a demon extermination business. However, they were rejected and Kisara was designated as the first A-class demon hazard in history. All the demon extermination companies joined together to deal with Shu and Kisara, but they were wiped out instead. The government realized they couldn't be defeated and approved Shu's business. Just then, the demon goes through an evolution and breaks free. It is explained that requesting spare units to help would put them over their budget, so Aquino was forced to call a cheaper solution. Shu isn't humble about them asking for help, but he must then beg her not to hang up. She explains that Ayano's squad can barely hold the demon back, so they must resort to asking the help of a demon. Shu explains to Kisara that they are going to have to go at full strength this time. She wonders what he plans to give in return, and he explains that he has memories from 3 years ago that remain untouched. He determines he will have to give up 3 months worth of memories, and she reminds him that is when he started living with a certain girl. She wonders if his overall objective is the annihilation of demons, bringing back his family, or to rescue Ayano right now. Kisara points out how Ayano was wearing the same outfit she wore on her first date with Shu, but he no longer has that memory. They kiss, and she points out how cruel he is for his willingness to embrace a woman he does not love just to accomplish his objective. He even discards memories of the woman he loves so he can save her. Nothing matters now though, as Shu tells Kisara to take the memories she needs and change them into her power. Just as Ayano is about to be crushed, Kisara arrives to save her and takes off to fight the demon. It's very powerful though and refuses to go down without a fight. Shu awakes to find a message he left for himself to aim for Kisara. As Shu loads his weapon, he tries to remember his objective, but determines he needs to stop thinking and trust his past self. Kisara weakens the demon's defense and Shu releases a powerful shot. It isn't quite enough though, so Shu reloads and fires the finishing shot. Just below, we are shown a familiar weapon being unearthed underground. Shu passes out since firing 2 shots takes quite a toll. Nearby, the investigator explains that every demonically possessed being to date had always lost something. Abilities, parts of their bodies, or even their lives. None of them have been nearly as powerful as Shu though, so he wonders what on earth is Shu giving up in return. Thank you for watching part 1. Future parts will be in a pinned comment when they become available.